Alright guys, welcome back to the games I have beat in 2024. I'm the Red Shadow, and this next game starts off my little batch of games that I played for Halloween, for October, spooky month, yada 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 and all that. So this first game here is Signalis, or Signalis, either one. Super happy to just have this game in general. I was interested in it when it first came out, and I think I mentioned during the pickups video where I showed this off that I just sort of put it on the back burner in terms of I need to pick this game up, and then it was a limited print. It's not a limited run or any of those kind of game companies. It was a regular retail release, but they just didn't flood the market with it. It's not like it was going to sell like Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto. So I didn't get it in time to get it at its original like $30, $35 price point. Suddenly it was on eBay for $100. And that's always disappointing when it's something I wanted to get. Well, good old Video Games Plus came through in the pinch. They did another one of their reprints, and we got a new version of this. Or it's the same game. The only difference is that the original game had a photo in here, something that looked like an instant picture, an instant print or whatever you would call it. And this version doesn't come with that picture. But it's got the game, and that's really what was the most important for me. So, Signalis. I liked this game a lot, but I didn't really get it. And I'll explain what that means. The game plays very much like a Resident Evil, like original Resident Evil, PS1 era style, 1, 2, and 3. The sort of tank controls, although there are modern control options, but it's still very much a game where you run through an environment and maybe something pops up similar to the zombies in Resident Evil, and your character has a gun and they hold it up and then you press the buttons and they pow, 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 and they shoot it. And a couple of shots might bring the enemy down, but they may not be dead. You can run by them. Sometimes you could stomp on their head and like fully kill them. Or you can just choose to keep running, and you can kind of run around them every time you come through a certain area. And you'll find, a room, and inside this room there'll be a computer, or there will be an item on a table, there will be a map, there will be a memo or a note or something to give some exposition. And you'll run into the occasional characters, and then you'll take these items back to another room and solve a puzzle, or you'll have to collect 3 of this thing or 5 of that thing and then go to this room and place them into a picture, and when that happens then it'll open up and a key will come out. It's that kind of gameplay. If you're familiar at all with that kind of stuff and you like that, then Signalis I'd be like, move that up your priority list, check this game out. The reason why I said earlier that I didn't get it, though, is because instead of this being sort of like a modern-day horror setting, it's not a Silent Hill or a Resident Evil type thing. It's more of a sci-fi thing. And you play as a character that is, of course it doesn't say on here. I can't remember what they're called in the game. I kind of want to say it's somewhat similar to sort of like Blade Runner with the replicants. It's a being that is kind of created to do work and fulfill aspects of society alongside their human counterparts or whatever. But I think there's also an aspect to it where someone dies, or if someone just chooses to, they can sort of put their essence, their conscience, their soul or whatever into these whatever they are called in this. I'll just call them a replicant. Maybe that's what they're called, or maybe I'm completely off. So what that did for me was it confused the shit out of me. Whenever I would be talking to another character, I'm like, am I talking to an actual human? Am I talking to their sort of like replicant, companion? Am I talking to them with their essence in that companion? It was hard to figure it out, and it felt like it was very, like this game was being very symbolic and very existential, and very, very much smarter than me, smarter than what I'm able to sort of decipher in it. So I chose instead to sort of go along for the ride, because as a gameplay experience it was fun. It was definitely moody and creepy, and it had great atmosphere, and I was able to move through the game quite I want to say quite easily. Not easily. I still had to, from time to time, refer to some guides and try to figure out what it was I was missing. But it was still fun. It was still riveting to a certain degree. I wanted to push through and get to the next area and see what was going on. And I want to point out that there were a few times in the game where it goes from this. I mentioned that it's sort of like Resident Evil. I should have pointed out the fact that it has sort of a pixelated graphical style, so it could almost pass for something that would have been on 16-bit systems like Super Nintendo and Genesis, or PC systems at that time, which is really, really cool. But then there are moments when it transitions into a first-person kind of thing for some puzzle aspects, or even at one point just going into this elevator and then kind of manipulating things in the elevator. And also in sort of these dreamlike sequences, it would do this. And what it felt like to me was sort of like jumping into a game like Myst or Riven, the sequel to Myst. Those first-person 90s PC point-and-click style games that I love. I say I love so much. I love that concept, but I've only played a handful of the games. But the games that I have played, like I said, Riven, Myst, the X-Files game, which is, full motion video as compared to the graphics, Phantasmagoria 2, but stepping into that, even for these brief moments in Signalis, was also a really, like, a nice surprise. I really enjoyed them. It felt like them sort of, the developers of this game, it felt like they were, tipping their cap to a multitude of inspirations for their game. So while the subject matter of it may have been a little too heady for me and I couldn't really grasp what was going on, it was a good time, a fun ride, a worth playthrough for Halloween. And so yeah, Signalis, I'm pleased that I was able to pick up this game and not pay out the ass for it, and I'm equally pleased that it was a fun experience that I enjoyed, and maybe playing it again somewhere down the road will help fill in the blanks on the things about this game and the story and whatnot that were a little beyond me. So that's Signalis. Fun game, and I will see you in the next one. I've got two more games that were for Halloween time, so hopefully I can get those done, and then I'll call it good on these reviews for another little bit of time. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video.